Do you get it?
Yes. Every time you open a USB, you see my life. And well, anyway, thank you for inviting me here. This is a mission impossible to introduce and talk about future of burden of malnutrition in 15 minutes. So I'm going to focus on obesity mainly, but not only. And I'm going to focus on children because children are the future. And well, you don't know me, and I don't know most of you, and I would assume that some of you know quite a lot more than me about underweight. Some of you, but not so many, I think, know more than me about obesity. But because I do have only now 13 minutes, I'm going to give you a very recent update of the field. So the most recent research, and I'm happy to share the slide, and you can also email me. So this is a paper from Lancet that came in October last year. How many of you have seen the paper? Can you raise your hand? It's about the prevalence of obesity and underweight at the same time in children from 1975 to 2016. It's an excellent paper. It's produced by the NCD Risk Collaboration, and this first slide shows that obesity is still increasing worldwide. So currently we have 124 million of children worldwide with obesity. And you don't see the countries here, but I hope most of you see the colors and you see that the orange color is expanding. That's Asia, that's East Asia. So this is where we see obesity increasing the most. And there are two graphs for girls and boys, and you see the difference between them. But over the next years, we will think that the difference will decrease. Here you see the underweight. So by the way, these are data from 200 countries. This is the biggest prevalence database ever produced. There is no better one. It's not perfect, of course. As you see here, so see, these are the same countries or regions. So you see a lot of orange as well, which means that underweight is very prevalent in Asia and in East Asia, Southeast Asia. But as you see the trends, it's still more prevalent than obesity, but is decreasing. But we still have more children with underweight than obesity still. But this is going to change probably. And this is another set of graphs or figures from this paper. As you see, this is the obesity prevalence by sex and country in 2016. And you see the darker color, the more prevalence. And well, this is not as well. What surprised me that in North Africa, we have also quite high prevalence of obesity. And when you see underweight, this is underweight, you see that actually the same regions might be affected, like India. We have a high prevalence of obesity and underweight in the same country. And that gap is actually increasing. And that is fueled by food insecurity. And you might think, well, this is maybe the problem of India and so on, but we see this gap, this problem, almost everywhere. This is some data from UK, when you see that the most socially deprived children is twice as likely to have obesity at school entry. And then you hear the bluish one is that persists when they are older. And well, then you might think, do you have a pointer here, by the way? No pointer. And this is the data from Sweden. And this is a very good statistic because this is based on 25,000 children measured by healthcare professional. And if you are not from Stockholm, I just want you to say, these are 4-year-olds, that if you want to buy an apartment here, it is very expensive. It is very cheap here. So we have a clear economic gradient and obesity. And you can see that in some parts, this is the first, Vaxholm is part of Stockholm. We have no children with obesity whatsoever, 0. When you see here, we have 5%. It's a huge, huge difference. So obesity in children is tricky because there are different cutoffs. This is BMI across from 2 to 18 years. But what is also tricky and complex that obesity affects all organs in the body. It's not that, like from underweight, you die in the worst case scenario, but some children want to be dead because the social stigma is extreme. We have very good research showing that children with obesity have worse quality of life than children with cancer. We know that. Talking about cancer, we also know now that the link between obesity and cancer is becoming even stronger. Almost all types of cancer. This is very, very good data from big cohorts from Copenhagen, for example, followed over many years. Almost all kinds of cancer, but breast cancer. And multiple sclerosis, and on and on and on. So, does treatment work? No, it doesn't. And we know now that, well, not so well, I would say. This is a very recent update of all treatments ever given within the randomized control trial. So Cochrane have put together a series of reports recently published, summing up studies from 1968 to 2016 over 20,000 children from 163 countries. Most countries are from, well, most studies are from US, most countries are from Europe, very few countries from other parts of the world. Only 10% conducted in upper middle income countries, remaining in high income. Socioeconomic status not reported, ethnicity not reported. How does the treatment work? So very quickly, this is the first part, the biggest, is the treatment provided for children who are youngest, up to 5 years old. And we know that this is where there is a greatest opportunity to do something, to have a change. Very little change can we expect in older ages. So basically, the effect sizes you see are not clinically significant. They are not connected with improved metabolic profile and so on. So we have the largest BMI reduction in the youngest. But we have so many knowledge gaps. We have no evidence from low-income countries, lack of cost data. We have no evidence about treatment for children with disabilities in specific ethnic, religious, and culturally diverse groups. And on and on and on. We don't know anything about sustainability of the treatment as well. What is the role of remote e-health? We don't know. Does the prevention work? No, actually, it's even worse than treatment. This is another meta-analysis looking at the randomized controlled trials, 90 randomized controlled trials. Out of these, some of them with younger children, only 16 out of 90 interventions result in significant improvement, but the improvement was so tiny that it's not clinically relevant for children. But the take-home message is that we need both food and physical activity components. And the setting most effective is educational, so preschools and schools. No adverse effects reported. Treatment or prevention of child obesity does not cause eating disorders. We know that, professionally conducted treatment. So forget about eating disorders like anorexia. We are not causing those. So what should we do differently? I think we need to think systemically, and we'll do that. We will do that. I have 5 more minutes. So I'm going to show you just what does it mean to, what is the security means? For example, this is a quotation from a mother of a preschooler. I ask her, what is the biggest challenge? And she says, well, I think that the biggest challenge is that we are strapped for time and because of money. Saying from a single mom might seem strange, but I just think that it would be easier to have a better lifestyle, to eat better, to be more active. It's not knowledge. If we work 30 hours instead of 40 hours a week, I think even just the smallest reduction in that stress and in that amount of time, I think it would do wonders for our family. I guess one of the challenges of this income level, because cheap food is fattening food, recreation is costing money. And another challenge, asking a grandmother, is there anything you would like to do differently that you don't do? I would like to take a vacation. I like to take a vacation with them. I mean, I did it with my grandmother, but she was 1 year old, and she doesn't remember that. I think that being unemployed, our money is, well, I'm very strict about bills first, fun later, fun that costs money later. I would like to do more weekends getaway. By the way, this is stuff from the grandparent study I have published in several papers. So we see a clear mechanism between high maternal stress and depression and children obesity, but this can also be connected to underweight, because what maternal stress and depression does, that it leads to non-responsive feeding. So mothers are less able to read children's appetite or hunger cues. And in my research, we were able to connect to the sense of coherence, the sense of being part of something larger. And it's a concept that looks at actually resilience, about protective factors that enable to people stay well. And it looks at comprehensibility, manageability, and meaningfulness. And what we have seen in that, I have 3 minutes, but I will make it, in the large cohort in Malmö with mothers born in 74 different countries, we have seen that sense of coherence of the mother was connected with a higher education and not being born outside of Sweden. And we have also seen then, but it was not connected to anything else and not to children's characteristics, that sense of coherence was also connected to being able to control feeding in an optimal way, to the limit setting. Meaning, sense coherence is built to be able to use resources in the nearest environment. And we need to think about that in programs we'll need to think about how can we address the economic and structural barriers. So we need to think broadly, back again to system ecological model, when we see child in the middle, but we see all the other factors around. We see the socioeconomic inequalities, but we can't forget the economic factors. We can't forget the political factors, the food systems. And we won't forget that, because we very recently got a huge funding from Horizon 2020 to use this model to combat obesity. So this is a program steered by Imperial College, and co-partners is WHO, and well, I'm part of the co-partners as well, and the funding is 10 million euro, and we will look at the different work packages, how we can stop childhood obesity through policy work. So the title is Science and Technology in Childhood Obesity Policy. As you can see, we will look at the regulation, fiscal policy, consumer behavior, healthy food, physical activity, healthcare. So I'm hopeful. I think we can do something. We have 4 years. We start in June, so stay tuned. Thank you.